Cool, good. Well, yeah, welcome everybody. Happy Thanksgiving, as you said, to all of our American friends. Didn't really think on the cadence of these meetings when we set them up that this would fall on the Thanksgiving's holiday. So apologies and thanks to everyone who's still able to make it. As you said a minute ago, we'll try and keep this as concise as we can because I know a lot of people probably need to get back to their families and their leftovers. But for anyone who doesn't know, my name's Will or Kempster. I help in the community guild and a part of the core team here. These town halls are a chance for the community to sort of catch up on everything that's happening, sort of provide some updates. It's quite hard to stay up to date with everything with the kind of synchronous nature of Discord in an async world that we all operate in. So we try and use these town halls as a way to kind of update the whole group on what's going on, and then also to invite some discussion and questions about some of the happenings over the last 2 weeks now, because we've shifted them to bi-weekly. Always like to reiterate at the start as well, Developer DAO has been a really nice, fun and friendly place since we started it. The vibe's been amazing. We want to make sure we continue that moving forward. It's really, really important to us, and we to everyone in the community, and it's one of the best things about Developer DAO. We did put in a small initiative this week. Just on that note, Michelle has put together a reporting form. So if you ever feel like that culture is being damaged, or there's any bad actors in any way, if you go to our rules channel, there is now a Google form that you could submit into there. For full transparency, it's optionally anonymous, so you can choose to share who you are, or you can not. But that report will go to myself, Michelle, and also Stephanie as well. If there's anything that you ever want to let sort of raise as an issue that you're not comfortable sharing publicly, do it there. Although we do support as much as possible sharing it publicly if you can. But yeah, keeping the vibe.
Is that in our wiki as well?
It will be when it goes live.
Okay, cool. Because I think as we continue adding, more and more things, that wiki is going to become more and more valuable, so people can just have a single place to go and see everything.
Yeah, absolutely. There's still some small changes and updates and permissions that need to be made sure they're working well on the wiki before we push it out and everyone's got edit access to it. But it will definitely go in there front and center. Yeah, we want to make sure that there's that space where anyone, for whatever reason, can kind of raise any issues that do or don't come up. And right now it's in the rules, but as Nader says, it will end up in the wiki as well. So, yeah, so that aside, it's been a very busy 2 weeks. Obviously, guilds have been launched. A lot of meetings have been had. Our ER721 sold out, which was amazing. It's crazy in 2 months to get to, what is it? I think 5,400 odd in the final mint count.
Yeah, something like that, in that range.
Yeah, so it's pretty wild to have got there in 2 months, and I guess for everyone in the community, it's a great milestone for us to achieve. So the agenda for today, I'm not sure if anyone shared it in the text chat, but if someone who's got hold of that could post it in there, that would be great. But we'll be talking about that ERC 721, the snapshot taken, and kind of the ERC 20 token plans. The Gitcoin proposal that went out yesterday. There's been lots of questions on that already, which is great to see. The Treasury deployment, Preethi, who's coming on as an advisor, and then assuming we have time at the end, updates from the guilds as well. So yeah, we may as well sort of roll straight into the ERC 721. So I don't know who wants to lead this discussion, but that we've been speaking since we started really about the intention to move to an ERC 20 governance token. And the reason behind that is it provides a much more flexible primitive to be able to build and scale out our community moving forward, and create more inclusive pathways for people into the community as well. If we had stuck with the NFT in the long term, we would have been in a situation where there was a very limited supply, and we wouldn't have been able to build any of those different pathways into the community. And also, we wouldn't have been able to build a system where we can reward contributors based on allocation of our governance token. And they were kind of the two main driving factors for the desire to move towards an ERC20 quite from pretty much from the start. But the ERC 721 allowed us to bootstrap the community to where we are today, which is great. It will still definitely maintain utility as the community grows. Details of that still to be figured out. But the ERC 20 will give us that flexibility as we scale to be able to recognize and reward contributions and kind of grow our community in a much more flexible way. I don't know if there's anything that Nader or anyone wants to add to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important thing for us to get out there is just the tokenomics around how this looks, because I think there's just a lot of people that don't kind of know like what we're thinking, and obviously whatever we're thinking is just a proposal. So I think we should just get that proposal out, and I think that we're meeting today with like one of our advisors, Cooper, later, and we're going to kind of like get additional input because he's launched so many successful communities, including being a huge part of like EMS. We want to kind of like get as much advice as we possibly can on that proposal and then put it out there and just get everyone's feedback. But we're leaning on being, we're kind of like going more heavily, I think, into community allocation than what we've seen in maybe the general like average of these types of launches. I think that what we're going to be proposing is going to be something like 30% for the community allocation. It's going to be 25% plus an additional 5% for people who help build the community. But all the other details are kind of going to be all laid out in a document that I think Will is working on mainly. And from there, we'll just put it out there and just drive discussion. I mean, like, this isn't anything that's been decided on or anything like that. It's more of us just kind of like putting all of the thoughts and all of the different ideas and all of the feedback and all of the information that we're getting from people with like a lot of experience into this document, putting it out there, and then letting people like decide in the community if they want to go with it. So that's kind of the general idea. And I think that we've had just an enormous number of people wanting to join and kind of like really interested in being a part of the community. So I think a huge, thing we need to focus on is trying to get the new ERC20 launched so we can start enabling new people back into the community. My DMs are kind of like filled up with people that want to join. And, like, we just want to make that happen as soon as possible. And in that blog post, I kind of mentioned some ideas around, what that might look like. And again, of course, like, this will all be, open for discussion. But I do think it would be nice to be able to have a part of our Discord or our community that is completely free and open for anyone to use. And I think that would be the areas where we probably focus more on kind of like public goods and things like that. And then the DAO would be mainly around the governance, the guilds, the collaborations, all of that stuff. So I think the idea of having a public access area really goes along with the ethos of building free and public goods, which is kind of something that I've always been passionate about. Literally my entire career, going back to like opening coding schools and giving away free classes, 7 or 8 years ago. And then like everything that I try to do is free, like blog posts and stuff. I've never gone the route of like monetizing any of my content. Not that I think there's anything wrong with that, but I just feel like there's opportunities to kind of make things free, and we should also try to make that part of what we go for. So like I'm kind of going off on slightly of a tangent, but that's just some general overview of what we're thinking.
Yeah, thanks, Nader. And I think the other the important point in what Nader's saying there is that what we're proposing is a proposal, right? It needs to be debated and discussed within the community. We do want to move forward as quickly as we can, but The proposal that's putting out is a proposal, so it will needs to be and rightfully should be debated and discussed in the community. Make sure everyone's on board with whatever it ends up eventually being, the reasons behind that, and kind of how that will help us move forward in the future. Everyone getting a say is vital to the community being healthy and moving forward. And hopefully we can share that sort of initial draft in the next few days. Just on the ERC 721, obviously the snapshot was taken at the point of the last mint of the token. That was done to try and ensure we were rewarding contributors as much as possible. So people who had joined the DAO with genuine intentions, rather than say speculators who outside the DAO who maybe had bought up to 70 odd tokens. So it was done very much with the best intentions, and to make sure that the people here were rewarded for being part of the community. I think we've acknowledged already, certainly just as NADA has as a core team, that there were people who maybe had purchased some extra tokens with good intentions to give out to people that they know, or even give away for free for people that they don't know. And we do intend to make those people whole, if you say, as much as we possibly can, in terms of finding out who those people are in the community that are in that position, and then working out ways where we can invite people in, either that they would recommend or them being involved in the process for how we figure out how we might gift or sponsor subscriptions for individuals that join the community after the ERC20 launches.
Yeah. There's a few types of categories, I guess you could say, of people that we want to just sponsor. For sure, it's going to be a combination of people that kind of are in the DAO that had purchased tokens that were originally, thinking to gift those. We definitely want to put those people in the top, along with some of the other categories of people that I kind of mentioned in some of those blog posts. And someone also asked, I'm curious, is someone documenting this process from start to finish? It would make a great course, info product, how to launch a successful DAO. Yeah, I think the really interesting part around doing these sorts of activities, like what we're doing here, is a lot of times they cannot be replicated exactly based on the circumstances of the community. So, for instance, the biggest problem for sure in building communities and I would say Web3 and providing ownership is civil resistance. How do you figure out a way to give a large number of people ownership equally and make everything as fair as possible? Because once someone does something once, then the next time someone does that thing exactly the same, then someone will probably try to game the system, right? So you can probably build a community a lot slower than we did by manually reviewing every single person that came in, I guess. But then you might have the question of was there gatekeeping there, right? Who was making those decisions? And I think it's fine to do that in certain ways, but the way we chose to go about it was to kind of instead of charging a token price and building our treasury, we were just hey, let's just make this free. We're going to set aside a bunch of money and just give a bunch of tokens out for people that can't afford the fees. And I think what ended up happening was us getting a very, very wide range of people in here. So we have people that are experienced Web3 and blockchain developers that are writing some of the most cutting edge stuff and research. And then we have beginners that are literally have never written any Solidity. And I love that about us, that we have that kind of wide range of people. But again, another tangent.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Nada. It looks like there's lots of support for the idea of having public spaces in the server as well, and I think it's something that we should capitalize on in terms of being able to grow the community, and then the ERC20 giving us the flexibility to maybe do that in a leveled and structured way. But all of these things are to be decided amongst the community in exactly how we do that. but yeah, it gives us that pathway forward for the future to implement those kind of things and kind of scale out our community in a much better and hopefully much more inclusive way as well. So we're going to take questions at the end, just so we can try and make sure we stay on track and discuss some of the important things that have happened in the last week. So I guess the next big topic from the last week is the Gitcoin proposal going up. So for those who are maybe slightly newer to the DAO, Nader might be able to correct me, but I think we started speaking with Gitcoin probably about a month in, I think, Nader?
Yeah, it was probably like 3, 4, or 5 weeks in. I don't remember. It was extremely early.
Yeah, and I think the initial conversation happened with Nader. Well, I know the initial conversation happened with Nader about something else, but they had seen the community growing a lot quite quickly. But still, about a month before anyone else, they immediately, at least a month before anyone else, they really quite strongly showed sort of faith and support in what we would what the community could become. And that proposal, I think, was probably first discussed at sort of late September, early October, in terms of the approach or the discussion that had been had with Gitcoin and kind of high level of roughly what that might look like. And then it's taken another month or so to kind of get it to where it is today. But that early support from Gitcoin was really important to kind of, I think, give a lot of confidence in terms of where the community could go. And then obviously Gitcoin themselves being such an important player in the Web3 space, having been so successful and being one of the early sort of real, true public good organizations that have funded so much. And then the people that are around it with sort of like Scott and Awaki and Austin Griffiths and Ryan, like it was great to have that kind of backing and gave us a lot of confidence to push forward. So we've obviously shared the details of the proposal out onto Discourse. I think largely the response has been pretty good in terms of voting. We've obviously had some quite fair and sort of clear questions come back, and we've been trying to engage with them over the last day. And we're definitely open for having that conversation continuing. This is the point of it kind of being a proposal. We need the community to agree that it's a good thing. But yeah, I think it's an important milestone for us to get to that point, particularly with someone like Gitcoin and their history and the people that are involved and the support that they can provide. It's quite an exciting moment, I think, for the community to kind of be in that position. I don't know if anyone else has got kind of anything to add on the Gitcoin proposal in particular.
Not to add to like directly to the proposal, but just saying that like all of these questions that are coming up is exactly what this is for, and is like honestly some of the best conversations that I've seen like in an online community. And this is not something that you can get on like Twitter, where people are just like gonna start trolling your conversations, but really like if you have any apprehensions or any opinions on any of these proposals, please make your voice heard, because we want to hear your voice, even if it's maybe not what you think is going to be the most popular one. This is not a popularity contest. You know, this is something where every single person's voice matters. And if you feel a certain way, odds are you represent a certain amount of people that are also feeling that way, but don't want to speak up. So please, this is the number one priority for me, at least in the community, is making everyone feel safe and being able to bring up these opinions, even if they feel like it's not the most popular thing. And this also does go back to kind of the announcements, that this is a safe space, and we are trying to put in all of these tools for like this anonymous reporting and things like that, especially as we go public. If this is something that we end up doing, these public forums will place a lot more danger, I suppose is the only word for it, and that this is no longer like people are at stake with their NFTs that they already bought, and just making sure that, you know, if you see something, say something, and to always make your voice heard. And that's it, really.
Yeah, I was just going to add to that as well. It's on both sides of things. So maybe you disagree with it, put those questions out there. A lot of times it's hard for us who have kind of been in the weeds of it and been talking about it for the last couple of months to like remember what we've stated, lately. So like Luca mentioned on the comment that like, he wasn't aware of like the conversation starting a couple months ago and, kind of the numbers that Gitcoin was throwing out. So like helping us realize like, oh, this is what we need to make sure we communicated out. A good conversation was had last night about, there's just so much information going around the DAO right now. It's really hard to remember like, what's easy to find, what information is out there and massively accessible. So asking those questions, bring that up. And then on the other end, if you agree with it, feel free to just cast your vote. But at the same time, it's helpful to say, hey, I support this proposal for these reasons. Maybe you understand the influence Gitcoin has in the space, and you just think that this partnership is going to be so much more valuable than negotiating over a few percentage points, something like that. That is super helpful for other people, because you've got to remember that not everybody is like a Web3 native or has been in the space a long time. Not everybody might know the impact of Gitcoin, and so just being able to voice out hey, I support this proposal for these reasons is just as helpful as somebody asking questions that we need to dive into deeper.
Yeah, both really good points. Like, we probably haven't made as much use of the sort of asynchronous setup in Discourse as we could, and we definitely want to make sure that we push as many of these big discussions there as possible, because it allows people to digest and feedback questions. And there is no silly question, right? Like, if you feel something exactly like Noah said, like, please raise it, because as he said, you're probably not the only person thinking that, and those kind of questions need to be answered and need to be discussed in the community. We really want to make sure that excuse me, that there is as much inclusion in all of these things as we possibly can, and hopefully as that discussion continues over the next few days, we can start sort of shedding some light on some of those questions that people were having, and totally up to having other conversations elsewhere if that's required to answer people's questions. But as much as we can do it in the open on Discourse, I think is really helpful for everyone to kind of have that asynchronous place where they can see the conversation and see what's happening and it not get lost in Discord. Hopefully over the coming weeks we can get a bit better at the kind of communication flow, so more of that information is surfaced and easily discoverable. But yeah, these proposals are really, really important in terms of taking community feedback, because they'll form a lot about how we move forward into hopefully the long future of Developer DAO. Cool. So if no one's got anything else to add on that topic just yet, again, we'll take questions at the end.
Hey, let me just say real quick, just a shout out to my governance guild, not my governance guild, the governance guild. And there is a like gov discussion channel that anybody can join. You don't have to be in the governance guild. Feel free to just like chat in there. Maybe you don't feel like your thoughts are well enough developed to put on the forum. So you can absolutely just use that channel. We'll link it in the chat right now. Just to be like, hey, can somebody like tell me a little bit more about Gitcoin, or just ask quick questions there. We've had a couple conversations happening, but then also feel free, of course, to use the forum, as that content's going to last out there longer. So if you support the proposal, that's a good place to record it. Sorry, Kemp.
Well, good, dude. Yeah, so the other post that was pushed out yesterday was about our multi-sig treasury deployment. So part of the Season 0 proposal was to get that set up. It's a sort of a fundamental piece of infrastructure for us to be able to operate. Hopefully most of you have seen that that post on the general thread on Discourse, but if anyone hasn't, I'm just going to post it in unless someone's already done that for me. No? There we go. Thanks, Josh. There may be like a different level of knowledge and awareness of kind of what a multi-sig is, but it's basically just a contract-based wallet. So much like you might have a MetaMask wallet, the multi-sig wallet is a place to store funds, but it being a sort of a contract wallet and allowing multiple signers of that wallet, it provides sort of a better level of security and also kind of like Sybil resistance in terms of how those funds are managed. So the way that we've set it up at the moment is there are 6 signers, which is myself, Nader, Mark, Will, Withheart, and Eric, who are the guild leaders. And for any transaction to leave that treasury, 3 of those people need to sign that transaction. And we got to that number as it felt like the right balance between security and ease of use, and sort of limiting the risk of ever losing access to the treasury. But this is just an initial setup, right? Like, we need this in place to be able to receive any on-chain revenue, to take funding. But as our governance tooling and processes mature, we'll definitely be looking. The community will definitely be taking a lead in terms of how we manage that treasury moving forward. We do also maintain a sort of an EOA wallet address as well, which is a MetaMask account, and that has a little bit of Ethernet that we were using for sort of managing Mirror in particular, and also holds our ENS domain name for managing Mirror and managing Snapshot. Again, we will maintain that for now, but it may become apparent as we look at the setup that there are better ways of doing that. I think there's been some questions that have come back already about how the process works in terms of signing transactions, which I've just explained. We've suggesting that we will serve as signers of the treasury for the first 2 seasons. So season 0, whilst governance and tooling is getting set up, we don't really have the mechanisms as a community or process in place to change the setup and governance of the treasury. So if we get that right during season 0, then season 1 we can hold a vote in terms of, do we want to maintain the same signers of the treasury? Do we want to replace them? Do we want to change the setup? All of this stuff can be discussed and figured out by the community once we've kind of matured our tooling and processes around governance. But the current setup at the moment allows us to move forward. So yeah, I don't know if anyone else wanted to add anything on that.
I mean, I don't want to slow us down, and I know we need to keep moving quickly. The only thing I'll say is this is, for those of you who haven't seen like a lot of other DAOs in practice, this is a gray area where we can like decentralize over time and eventually get other signers added to the treasury outside of the core team. So that's something we'll like look to do over the next like 6 months. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, definitely. Like, it's just set up like this way at the moment to allow us to move forward, but community-driven decentralization of how we manage that treasury from a signing point of view is one thing, and then also as the treasury grows, there will definitely be a conversation needed in the community in terms of how we actively, or if we do actively, manage that treasury. So maybe we will spin up a treasury guild. There's a lot of the things that we could do. But this kind of gets us to where we need to be now, and then we can refine all of those processes kind of as we move forward over the next few months. But yeah, next up in terms of updates is Nader pushed out an announcement earlier this week that we are hopefully looking at bringing on Preeti as an advisor. Nader, are you still with us? Do you want to give us a bit of some insight into Preeti?
Yeah, the last 2 weeks we announced that we're inviting Preeti and Cooper as advisors, and their actual involvement and things like that will also be a part of the tokenomics and maybe another future proposal. You know, like the 2 people that we chose so far are pretty strategic. Mainly because Cooper has been very involved in multiple, other DAOs and token launches, and has a lot of the connections and resources and all of the things like that will, I feel, really help us move along in a good manner. And Preeti, on the other hand, has just a really, really well-aligned experience with some of the missions, values, and goals that we have here. You know, she's been a teacher for a number of years. She's been in the blockchain and, you know, you could say like Web3 space for a number of years. She helped, I believe, get Ethereum listed on Coinbase. Just a bunch of different things she's done in her career that are really great. And she's sharing probably, in my opinion, like one of the top 5 people that I follow that shares probably some of the best educational material in Web3. And yeah, just all along, I feel like she's a great fit. But again, these are kind of going to be the proposed, how their involvement is going to be kind of like proposed into maybe this tokenomics document or something along those lines. I think the tokenomics probably makes the most sense because it will describe their payment or maybe their token allocation and how that all of that stuff works. So yeah, but I'm pretty excited to have both of them. Like I really can't think of many people that would be a better fit for what we're trying to do. The next thing we are though trying to figure out now, and we're going to be asking Cooper today, is finalizing like a legal advisor, because you know, a lot of the stuff that we're doing, we're operating in like gray areas, and there are legal advisors that are working with DAOs that have a lot of experience that can help guide us and do the right things and make the right decisions and set up the right mechanisms to kind of make sure we're not doing anything too stupid. So yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to that. So if we bring another advisor on, it'll probably be someone with legal experience.
Yeah, if should we share? I'm not sure if everyone in the community will be totally aware of who they are. So
yeah, I don't know where people came up with that 25% to founders. That's never been proposed, and it's going to be a lot less than that, I believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, does anyone else want to kind of jump on? Is there a next item you want to go over, Kim?
I think we're pretty much there.
Yeah,
really.
Kemp, you're on mute if you're talking. But yeah.
My bad. I was talking to my screen. I'd said a few things. I was seeing if people knew who if Cooper and Preeti were, but it looks like Will kindly shared the link for Preeti, and I just popped in a link for Cooper as well. But yeah, just echoing what Nate is saying around these two advisors. Like for those who don't know Cooper, there's a kind of a bit of a meme that says sort of all DAOs lead to Cooper. If you sort of research Cooper a little bit, he's been extremely important in the setup of a lot of the early DAOs. Like I've lost track of what he was involved in, but it includes FWB, it includes Gitcoin, it includes a lot of the big DeFi protocols. So having that kind of experience in terms of making sure that we can kind of learn from that and get maybe learn from the mistakes that he would have made in the past and make sure that we at least propose kind of using that learned experience from him for how we can move the DAO forward, then it should hopefully help us quite a lot. And obviously the network effects of his contacts and the doors that can be opened, I think could be really, really beneficial for the DAO. And then, yeah, Preeti, again, very, very experienced in the space, has worked for the largest VC in crypto in the past and been involved in the scene for a long time. And I think both are going to hopefully bring quite a lot to the table. But as Nate has said, whilst we're putting this forward, this will all become part of the vote for the tokenomics and governance. So everyone will get a say, everyone will get feedback. I think Nathan had asked it would be nice to get one or both of those onto the town hall, or at least into a meeting at some point in the DAO, just to kind of share some information about themselves, which I think would be an excellent idea. I don't know what Nader thinks, but I think we should be able to probably make that happen if we plan ahead a little bit. Cool. So we'll do some quick guild updates now. I've been talking a fair bit. So who would like to go first, just to give a kind of brief update on what's happened in their guild over the last sort of week and a half, 2 weeks? Maybe I'll choose someone. Mark, why don't you go first? You've got a cool story from the Writers Guild at the moment.
Yeah, happy to jump in. So first thing I'd like to call out is for anyone interested in getting involved in the Writers Guild, there's some work been going into a couple of the introductory channels. Hopefully those answer all of the most immediate questions. But if you jump into the Writers Guild, what do we call these categories of channels? There is a Start Here channel that includes an FAQ of our most often asked questions, and also an Opportunities channel. So most frequently the question is, how do I get involved? And we're trying to capture those in an Opportunities channel right up front and center. So specifically the couple of opportunities that exist are getting involved with the newsletter team, which I'll give an update for in just a second. And the second is to help out with some guild updates to broadcast around that content. I think can get sort of morphed into and like published in several different places, like everything from the wiki to the newsletter, and even if it becomes robust enough, we can follow Bankless DAO's example. They have a couple of their guilds have their own newsletters if you've got enough to say. So that could be one way to get involved as well. On that note, I've paid special attention to those couple of ideas in particular because I think they help to answer sort of the most critical question that is being asked in the DAO today, and that is like, how do I keep up with everything that's going on here? So the newsletter is ideally one way that you can get an easy lens or like quickly catch up on some of the high level activity. And then some of the guild deeper dive content that I would like to see is another, I think, great way that we can answer that question at some point. So the jumping to the next bullet point is the newsletter. So first of all, I think this is one of the first big wins for the Writers Guild. We've had this effort started before the guilds officially came about. Camo and Chiron expressed interest in getting a newsletter out there, but we had a couple other contributors step up in a big way. Colin and Pauly jumped in to help edit the newsletter and gather guild updates for the latest issue, respectively. So the newsletter went out. I don't have the text up. Hopefully somebody's sharing a link to that. The first newsletter went out, had I thought it got a pretty awesome reception. The newsletter went from 0 to over 1,000 subscribers, got tens of thousands of impressions on Twitter, that sort of thing, and seemed to be really well received in general. So awesome job to that team. We've since had a retro to talk about how to like formalize some of the processes that went into that and to bring more contributors into that process. So now in the newsletter channel, you'll find, well, first, if you're interested, just jump in there, introduce yourself. But the team is also experimenting with a spreadsheet to volunteer for different items that you can contribute to the newsletter. And then we've already had a few people jump in and volunteer there. So thanks to you that have already jumped in. There's also talk of breaking up into a couple newsletters theoretically, one like internally focused and another externally focused. So there's definitely enough work to go around there. So yep, just check in if you're interested. The last update I want to give is that we are still doing some research on what should be our publishing platform of the future. We've collected a bunch of wish list features for what that platform should have or should be able to do. And now we're setting about like assessing the different options for how the existing platforms out there would fit our needs. If you're interested in that discussion or taking on any responsibility there, there's a blog platform channel, I think is the name. Yep. I think that's all of it though.
Cool. What were the names of the people that contributed to the newsletter, Mark? I think it was Chiron, Camo, and I can't remember.
Polly and Colin Forward.
Big shout. It's a great thing to see go out. I think it's a big win for the whole DAO. Hopefully it'll make everyone's lives a bit easier in terms of keeping up async as well. I think that was a super good job by them to run with that and get that done. So yeah, I just wanted to say very, very well done. Who wants to go?
Yeah,
next?
for sure. Also, a quick shout out to Sylvia, Adam, and Bobby. Looks like have already signed up for some responsibilities this week. So kudos to them.
Yeah, well done. I think it's going to be a pretty important piece of our sort of communication strategy and everything moving forward. So I think, yeah, super good job. So I will pick on the next person. So Will, why don't you go next?
Awesome. Yes. Yeah. Governance Guild. So things are going really well. We've had our first 2 guild meetings. We had a kickoff meeting last week. And then we had our first weekly meeting this last Wednesday, just a couple days ago. So we've opted to kind of run quick 30-minute weekly meetings for the next few weeks as we get going. And then we'll kind of revisit our meeting schedule. But the main 2 objectives we're working on right now are kind of more focused on the operational aspects of governing the guild. And then ideally, once we knock some of these out, we can dive more into just like decentralized governance issues and really how we want to think through voting and all those pieces. So right now, objective number 1 is to provide clarity and a criteria around the proposal process. I know a lot of people right now have questions around like, what needs to be a proposal, what doesn't. With Heart put out some great requests for comments guidelines this last week. And so as we think of kind of governing as a whole, we are trying to provide a little more clarity around the proposal process. Like we've stated many times, it's important that anybody in the DAO could eventually, raise something to the proposal level. That's the only way we're truly decentralized DAO. But there needs to be good governance rules in place to let that happen in a meaningful way. So it's not that we want anybody to be able to kick off a snapshot vote just on whatever shower thought they had this morning. So we want to make sure we have good discussion around the topic first, and also that we give the right time for everybody to think about an issue and vote on it. So that is objective number 1. Tony, who's up here, is helping with that objective. And then second objective is around really documentation about the entire process. Plays into that first objective, but additionally is providing some resources for people learning about decentralized governance. So I know many members, this is their first time truly in a DAO. And so a lot of the questions that you might have probably have been thought about before. And so if we can provide good resources for people to learn about decentralized governance and to kind of level up that skill, that's going to be massively helpful. So those are the 2 main things we're working on. We're working on a number of other things, have had great people jump into the discussion. Will Worth has jumped in with a lot of great questions and adding a ton of value. A number of other people, Doswell.eth is continuing to contribute as well. And more people that I'm forgetting now, but just a really positive kind of first 2 weeks of governance. So come join the Governance Guild.
Good pitch. I love it. Yeah, there's lots of really interesting discussion in that, sitting in on those calls, and a big important part of what we need to do moving forward. So we are tight on time. So with Heart for the Development Guild, are you still with us?
I am. Can I have just a minute though?
You want to come back in a minute?
Yeah, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's cool.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Eric, for the Design Guild?
Yeah, I can go. Good day. Well, we have the
pixel avatars and all the derivatives. The pixel avatars is led by Gotsulu, and is going to explore launching on L2 with Polygon. We also have a new project, the robots project. Stargirl and Arche have started that. They are exploring the possibility to make games with them. So if you want to join, please do. We have merch. We have a meeting with Meta Factory, Josh CS, Isaiah, and Fredo 6969 have helped with the project. We are attempting to ship a black hoodie with the logo to start with, and then we can start creating more stuff. But that's our current goal. We have started the process to define the branding of the DAO and to explore if that needs to be changed or just refined. Lil Poop has been leading that effort, so we are doing that. And finally, we have started working on UX design for some of the projects that need that. Jazz has been kind enough to start doing that, and we are adjusting our times to be able to help them all. If we need all the help we can get, but we are trying to assist them all the projects. Any suggestions and any help is welcome.
Cool. Dope. Yeah. The merch looks great. For anyone who don't know who Meta Factory are, they would be an awesome place, an awesome group, another DAO to sort of launch alongside people like Bankless and whatnot. So yeah, awesome that that's moving, and also the branding exercise for the DAO is going to be really important. And Lil Pup leading that, I think, is doing a good job. And hopefully we can get the Pixel Avatar token launched really soon as well. We're exploring different either layer 2 or Polygon or layer 1 to try and make sure that that's as inclusive as possible. But the guys are kind of working on that at the moment. So yeah, super good job in the design guild. So I'll go next on community. So I was a little bit slow out the gate getting the first meeting organised. Big thanks to Michelle and With Heart for pushing that out and getting it in on Sunday last week. But there's a lot discussed in that meeting. I think the main things that we're working on at the moment is the wiki to try and make everyone's lives much easier in terms of a place in the DAO to be able to go and find out anything that they need about projects, to look back at meeting notes, and also to sort of how-to guides in terms of how to use the bots and tools that we have in our community. And it will grow as our governance processes become more defined. We will be building out that wiki to make sure that if someone wants to do something, it's a place where they can go to get it done. So in a self-service way as well. So big thanks to Nathan, QZ, and Sarah in particular, who pushed on with that. Hopefully we should get it out in the next few days. I think the only thing holding it up is a couple of how-to guides, which was on me. And then we just need to check the permissions, and then we should be good to go. But outside of that, Josh, who I believe is scribing this meeting and has been doing that loads around the community, has been really helpful. He put up a post which could actually do with a fair bit more feedback, and this is looking at refining our rules for the community. So if you've got any thoughts and opinions on what should or shouldn't be included in our rules, please feedback in there, and then we will look to refine and propose an updated version of those rules shortly. I mentioned earlier, again, Michelle, who's been really helpful. She created a optionally anonymous reporting form, which you can find in the rules channel, or will also be on our Notion wiki when it's launched, which I think is really important for making sure that we have a safe space. And then lots of other ideas have been raised around creating a space, sort of an AMA space where people can ask any questions. We'll be looking at using something like Slido probably in future town halls for anyone that doesn't necessarily want to sort of step up and speak. Stephanie is brimming with ideas about how we can start to look at improving diversity, how we can start running events to improve the social and cultural kind of aspects of our community as well. And she's started to run with a few of those ideas. And yeah, like there's just a lot for us to tackle. I think the next major thing is about onboarding and Discord server in general. So we'll be looking to kind of reignite the energy that happened around that over the next sort of week or so. So we can have a onboarding process for joining the server that kind of takes people on a journey of understanding kind of what we're about and how we operate, and then onboarding into guilds and contributing. So it's going to be lots to be done, but lots of exciting stuff. And big thank you to everyone that's been involved, particularly Michelle, Camilla, Stephanie, QZ, Nathan, and Sarah. And I know there's lots more as well. But yeah, it's been a good first week, and lots to do. It should be exciting. Cool. So the last one we've got is marketing and biz dev. Nader, are you still with us?
Yeah, totally. So I brought Michelle up here. I asked her to come up here. She's been helping out with some stuff, which has been great there. But also, mainly, I wanted her to kind of maybe talk about the in real life meetup happening in Miami, which has been her doing, and it's come along at a like lightning speed pace. So do you want to kind of give some updates there?
Hey, yeah, thanks. So yeah, we kind of threw out an idea in the Florida channel to have like an IRL meetup, and kind of escalated really quickly, especially for like a holiday weekend. But yeah, essentially like originally planned it for like a 10-person reservation at a restaurant, and then the response was just like phenomenal. And moved to a location called Riverside now, in Brickell, which is gorgeous. And really looking forward to it. And then since it grew so much, we were like, well, let's Ariana the techie, who I don't know if she just joined the Discord, but her and I were talking about it, and we were like, we should try and find a sponsor. And so we both tweeted it, and quite literally 2 minutes after we posted the tweet, Solana said that they would sponsor the event for food and beverage and for merch. And that was really cool. And so kind of went straight to work trying to figure out how to print merch over a holiday weekend. And it's pretty much basically impossible. So I just leaned into some local creators here in South Florida. So basically like went to a printer the other day and got a bunch of stickers. And then we have like koozies and tote bags, which I'm going to go help my friend who's a screen printer later today run those prints. So that should be really fun. And yeah, just really looking forward to the event.
Awesome. Yeah, that's so cool to hear. I was actually about to make a comment, but the chat is moving too quickly, so let me just abandon that idea. But yeah, so yeah, that's awesome. So good job on setting all that up. I'm excited to be there. This is our second in real life meetup, believe it or not. We had one in London literally like a few weeks after we started this thing, and we ended up having a lot more people show up there as well. So we ended up having like 10 people show up in London, which was awesome. So if anyone wants to put together an in real life meetup anywhere in the whole world, just go for it. Just do it, and we'll help spread the word. We'll help you find sponsors if we can. We'll do everything we can to kind of make it successful. So I think a lot of the ideas around being involved in a DAO is taking actionable steps and doing things and making things happen without really needing to kind of have a lot of, I would say, hand-holding or even approval, depending on what it is, of course. So, if you want to do something, I say just as long as it's nothing too crazy, just go for it. Or if you have any questions about whether or not you feel like it's something you can just take the lead on, maybe ask someone or something like that. There's a tweet that I keep sharing from Chase, who is one of my favorite people to follow on Twitter. Let me see if I can find that tweet. Chase Chapman. She works with Decentology, and she sent out this tweet. I just shared it, and to me, it kind of is very fitting for how I think Web3 just in general works. Like if you wait for someone to tell you to do something, you might find some guidance at some point, but a lot of times it's better just to kind of take action and then get help along the way. Also, I see that. I guess let me cover the last couple of things in the marketing biz dev before I kind of go into this other subject. But we really need to figure a way out to start funding our treasury for a handful of different reasons. We want to start moving forward with initiatives. We have people building really cool stuff. We want to be able to maybe help them out. We have people working full time. We want to be able to maybe help keep them around so they don't leave and go do something else and all that stuff. In addition to Gitcoin funding, a lot of people are reaching out to us just wanting to participate in some way. So we've had QuickNode, which was organized by Noah, come on as a sponsor for the newsletter. We've had a bunch of people reach out wanting to sponsor the newsletter. But we've also had a lot of people just wanting to reach out and contribute money in some way to sponsor or do some type of token swap. So I think we need to figure out, or just take investment. So the three ways I see that we can kind of or I wouldn't just limit it to three ways. So there's I guess 4 ways we might be able to fund the treasury. One is by selling sponsorships. So we might say we want to run a hackathon sponsored by Avalanche. And during this hackathon, we're going to kind of ask every developer that wants to participate, they need to write a blog post, create some project, open source it, and they'll be eligible to win. And then in exchange, we get X number of dollars. We might take sponsorships for a season. So we might say, you can sponsor Developer DAO Season 1, and in exchange for that, we'll give you all of these things. We can do NFT projects or something like that. We can launch NFTs, and that money can go partially to the treasury. We can do token swaps like we did with Gitcoin. When Gitcoin offered this token swap, we didn't think what we had was worth anything, honestly, other than just being a cool community. But they immediately were just hey, we think you're worth $10 million. And to me, that was really wild. But I think now we're even past that. So if we did want to do another token swap, we would probably not even be in that same range of 5% or whatever. We'd probably do a lot less percentage, and that would be kind of what I would propose. That's another thing we can consider. And then the last thing we can consider is doing just some type of investment. We've had a lot of venture capitalists reach out to us saying, hey, we want to give you $1 million or something, and in exchange we get a percentage of your governance tokens. So there's all types of things that we have to think about in all of those different conversations. And we don't really have any decisions, of course. So let's definitely hear from everyone here in the future around what they think is right. To me, the things that make the most sense are going towards the route of just sponsorships, because this way we can fund our treasury without having to kind of give away a ton of governance. So I feel like we would easily be able to get a lot of people on board there. The Graph protocol, which is what I work with, I've had Eva reach out a couple of times saying that she's really interested in helping us out. So, we could easily set up some of these things going forward. But that being said, that's kind of all my updates. One thing I just wanted to kind of mention is that really we have so much stuff happening at the same time. It's hard to keep up with everything. And it's hard for me to kind of keep up even with all of these conversations happening. And I wonder how we can consider moving forward at the pace that we're going and still be able to manage all the stuff that we're doing. So I think that we have to consider the fact that, again, going back to having some specific person involved for every decision, I feel like we need to really promote a culture of autonomy. So if you have an idea you want to work on, just go ahead and start building it out and building a team within, and we will do everything we can to support you. But you don't have to kind of ask permission to do something, just start doing it. Within the guilds, this is my first time working in a situation like this. So with the guilds, that might be a little different. If you're working in a guild and you want to build something for the guild, you might want to collaborate and make sure you're aligned with people there. But I think one of the cool parts about this in any DAO is just all the synergy between everything, and then the ability to leverage the entire network you've built here to help make the thing that you're doing succeed, and all the networks of all these people. So we have people here with like 100,000 followers. We have people here who have built out some of the most sophisticated technology in the world. We have people here that have amazing connections. Leverage those connections and leverage the network of people that you have here, and just do and build cool shit. And like anything that we can possibly do to help you out, we will. You don't really have to have permission. Just start doing shit. And that's kind of it for me, I think.
I just wanted to point out, on top of all the cool stuff that Nader said, that we have the first marketing guild meeting slated for, I think, 8 p.m. UTC or 3 p.m. EST for later today. So if you want to be involved with marketing and you want to help with partnerships or merch or anything of that sort, you should definitely come through.
Yeah, is there any other updates, by the way, that you want to kind of share there?
Well, not really. I mean, I have a basic agenda that I'll be putting up, but the first thing was really just to get the first group together for the first marketing guild meeting, and then from there, part of what we kind of want to. Well, I was thinking that we could discuss is just setting up a process for partnerships. So because there's a ton of people who have different opportunities that they could bring to us in the DAO, and we need to have a process in place for evaluation and all those things. An interesting thing is that a company that Will and I were reviewing for governance tooling, it turns out the CTO is a member of the DAO. We didn't even know that. So it's those kinds of opportunities that we want to be able to kind of just create a pathway for the processing of all of those partnership opportunities, and kind of relieve Nader as well of all of the conversations. Yeah. So if you want to help build out structures for that, 3 p.m. EST.
Thanks, Yo. It's all really good stuff, really exciting, and big shout out to T for getting the meetings rolling for next week as well. It's all good stuff. So with Hart in the Development Guild, are you back with us?
Yes, I am back and ready.
Cat challenges or whatever was going on.
Yeah, I had to get my cats out of the room. They wouldn't stop meowing at me. Like always. Hi, everybody. This is With Heart. I just wanted to give a quick update for the Development Guild. I think the first thing... Thank you, Emmanuel. I think the first thing we have, kind of the biggest thing I think we've had in the last week is I wrote an RFC for an RFCs process, which is just a kind of a lightweight process for guild members to be able to champion their own ideas or others' ideas and write an RFC that explains to everyone else what the idea is, why the idea is important, and how we should go about implementing the idea, with a big focus on getting things moving, rather than coming to consensus at this point. I think we might move to that over time, but for now, this is a good way for people to think of a project, propose the project, and then start going with some community involvement in the discussion around it. We have quite a few RFCs that have been created up to this point. So I will post the link to the RFCs category on the forum. This will list all of the RFCs that are there. And the community is encouraged to get involved in these RFCs. I think all of us have our own expertise or things that we're interested in or passionate about. So we have a lot of feedback to give. And even if you feel like you don't, asking questions about an RFC can be a really clarifying thing. So if you don't understand something, if there's terminology used that you've never heard before, ask questions. It will only improve the RFC. It will only add clarity to what's happening with it. So moving beyond that, we have a couple project updates to give. We have a new project in the works called Web3-UI. It's meant to be a UI library for creating Web3 or a Web3 specific UI library. NPX Create DAO is a project that will generate basically everything a DAO needs to get started. So you would get a smart contract for deploying tokens. You would get a front end that documents how the DAO works, a technical guide in the README for setting up various pieces of the DAO, like how to token gate a Discord, and also a UI for members to be able to buy and mint tokens. So pretty cool idea. There's a good amount of work going on in that direction. Our resources bot and DeviBot have merged into one repo, or kind of in the process of doing that, to be able to streamline our efforts and get all the bot's functionality in one place. The job board project has had quite a bit of progress in the last week. There are now quite a few people involved in that. Angel and Carlo are pushing that forward. They took the time to write an RFC for the project, even though it had already started, which I think gave a lot of clarity and gives a good sense of direction and how you might want to get involved in that project if you're interested. We have two projects that I think need champions and an RFC. We've talked about doing a guild hackathon since the start. Anybody with previous hackathon experience or somebody who has the time to take ownership over that, it would be really great if you could get involved, or I'm happy to help champion that with someone else. But I think it's quite a bit of effort, so it'd be great to get a group moving on that. And the pairing hub, we have currently a spreadsheet which has guild members in it with basic contact information like Twitter, Discord, GitHub, and a list of their skills, the things they have to offer, and then the things that they're looking to learn. So for now, this spreadsheet is kind of just static information that you can look in it, but it doesn't give us a ton of value. But the idea, I think, with the pairing hub is to build some automation around this, or an app or something that makes it very functional and fluid and really starts to connect people together, pairing with each other. So if anybody's looking to take ownership over that, that would be awesome. I think the last thing we have a wiki page now. I think my focus this coming week is going to be to really flesh that out quite a bit, to start to capture a lot of the information about our guild in one place. And the last thing is, if you are wondering how you can get involved, there's quite a few things I think you can do. I really want to emphasize the tweet that Nader shared a little bit ago that said, you cannot wait for someone to tell you what to work on in a DAO. I view my role in this guild as guiding us towards action and success and helping push things forward. But this guild is as much mine as it is yours or anyone else's. So it's really up to guild members to take ownership over the directions they want the guild to move in and collaborate with others to make it happen. So some of the ways you can do that, you can become a champion and write an RFC, get moving on your own project. You can participate in the RFC process, give feedback, ask questions about existing RFCs. You can help out with an existing project, writing code or documentation. I think a lot of the projects need people with maybe project management experience to start thinking larger about the project and how the project can work better to move forward. We could use some people that want to contribute to the wiki. If you like to write, I would love some help getting that together for us. You can work in public in our guild channel or pair with others in that channel to start to build some community with others. And we could also use some help thinking about our processes and our organizational needs as a guild. What's missing? What information is hidden from view? And how can we best move forward as a collective? So if you have any thinking or you want to start a conversation around that, it would be really helpful to us. That's all I got. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, cheers, Mark. That RFC process was brilliant, and I think it would be really interesting to push it out across the DAO as the template for kind of how we can surface ideas in a structured way. I think it was excellent, and you guys have been doing some really good stuff. So we will open the floor for questions. We're already well over time, so we've got 15 minutes. So we'll run until 1:30, I think. It's just so people can get back to what they need to do. And if you could keep it to one question each, we'll try and answer them as fast as possible. And then any questions after the fact, please ask them in Discord, or if they're related to the proposals that are up, or any of the posts that are up on Discord, please post them there as well if we can't get to you. So Manny's been sitting here for ages, so we'll invite him to speak. Are you in?
Hey, Kim.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick before Manny goes, I was just going to say I'm posting the POAP link right now. The bot is not alive right now, so we're using a spreadsheet. Click the link and then delete the link so that nobody else tries to claim it. I'll also be posting it in announcements, that channel, since chat's going to move pretty fast here.
Manny wave incoming. Can I ask my questions now?
Yeah, go for it, man. Question.
All right, so first question is concerning the Gitcoin proposal. If things are accepted, what's the timeline to accept the token? Is it a matter of like snapshot approval and then we're accepting things in 1 to 2 days? Are we cashing out right away? And would we be seeing an outline of the potential expenses in the coming days or weeks?
All very good questions. So the Gitcoin side, they will leave it up for debate. So there's there's basically the same proposal up on their governance. So that'll run for about 5 days. They don't take a vote on their forums. They just open discussion and then move it to Snapshot. So 5 days from when they posted it is Tuesday. And then if they elevate it to Snapshot, I can't remember exactly how many days they run their Snapshot votes for. Snapshot votes for. But basically as soon as that closes, they would be looking at sending the GTC to our treasury. In terms of the specifics for how it's going to be allocated, obviously 50% of it is locked up, and they have a reciprocal clause in there as well. Just on that, a lot of this is trust-based, right? Like, someone asked some questions about Gitcoin going dumping our tokens. Like, there isn't anything in that proposal which says they can't do that, but it would be a PR, like, trust nightmare for them, right? Like, they keep these governance tokens so they can be our partner and they can participate with us in governance as well. In terms of how it's going to be spent, I think Nada replied and mentioned that we are hoping to be able to lock in a couple of people, 1 or 2 people, maybe part or full time, potentially including myself, potentially including others, but the details of that haven't been locked down yet. And if the Gitcoin proposal goes through, we will definitely be sharing that with the community before anything happens.
So would that be before the tokens are allocated in terms of the expenses, or would that be after the tokens are allocated?
I hadn't intended personally to share that before then, for no other reason other than there was so much stuff going on. I think the game was to cement the partnership and to secure funding for the treasury, with the intention that it would give us the optionality to be able to do those things. But no, we haven't clearly defined exactly how that would be allocated, but it gives us that optionality to then be able to do those things, which we would discuss with the community.
Is there other people who have questions, or can I ask more?
Well, there are 2 more people in the...
we have more people. But maybe if you want to ask one more, since you were waiting so long and you're very involved. So,
one of the questions, I appreciate it. In terms of advisors, it seems like we have some really key advisors that came on board or whatnot, which is great. And I love the idea that we're advocating for more. Where has the decision-making process been in kind of bolstering or acquiring these advisors? And what are potential expectations of these advisors in terms of either compensation in some terms, which is typical when you see some advisors kind of step on for a firm or a startup for that matter?
So I was mainly the one involved in most of the advisor stuff, especially early on. Their involvement is going to be essentially just like a typical advisor. So, for instance, if we have a question around execution around something that is, maybe only a handful of people in the world have actually been in that situation, just having someone there that we can literally just like reach out to and have that question answered or whatever, like those sorts of things that's kind of going to be essentially their involvement, like being able to lean on them for questions, lean on them for their network. It really just depends. Each individual advisor is going to have their own strengths. Cooper has a massive network. He's involved with so many Web3 and other projects, DAOs and stuff. We think that that's his strength. With Preeti, she's just a really good Web3 blockchain educator, with her own network and her own unique set of skills. So I think it depends on the advisor by advisor basis. Their compensation will be basically part of the tokenomics. So we're going to kind of go along exactly with a lot of other DAOs have laid a precedent around giving them some sort of token allocation that vests as long as they're still involved or something like that. Like the decision to bring these individual exact people on or just one of probably hundreds of decisions that we've kind of made along the way. Whereas we've only had a few major decisions that have been snapshotted, where we're kind of leaning more and more towards like decisions that we don't want to put through a snapshot. Instead, just put them up for discussion or openly talk about the ideas that we're having. So if anyone strongly feels like we shouldn't do that, then we just don't do it. But if we say, hey, we're thinking about doing this, like, what does everyone think? And everyone seems to be on board with it, then I don't think like every tiny decision or every decision, even like medium size at first, especially, needs to be put for a snapshot vote. If we do that, then we're just not going to move anywhere. I think like we need to have that right cadence or that right balance of being able to get everyone to go through this process of snapshot voting and proposals and all that for certain things, and us being able to kind of like make decisions for other things and kind of figure out like what is the right balance there.
Agree, but what I'm hearing though is that the decision is mostly on the dev biz side of things. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I mean, yeah, for choosing these types of people and also discussing them with the rest of the core team and the community in some of these other forums and stuff. So, for instance, when we thought about bringing Cooper on, we kind of talked about it about 3 or 4 times and all that. And when we thought about bringing Preeti on, we actually made a kind of like a discussion, a paragraph in the main Discord general to kind of get people's feedback and things like that.
And but you mentioned like if there's objection, is there plans to put some sort of mechanics to be able to hold that objections? Because obviously we're not going the route of being able to put them on snapshot proposals in that sense. But you did mention the idea of potentially objecting to an advisor in case that they don't share the same values.
Any decision that needs to be made for like changing something that we already have can be put for a snapshot. I'm assuming like in the tokenomics, we'll figure out a way that says like their tokens vest over like X number of years, and if they get removed, then their tokens are no longer like something like that. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah, to an extent. Like if you think about it, there's not to like say that cancel culture isn't something that exists, but obviously there's people who at one point you think they're about one specific type of culture, and then you realize that they might not actually share the same values as the community, right? Later on. So in that sense, it's sort of like, okay, well, should they be part of as an advisor associated to the DAO at that point, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's a very good point. I mean, something we should definitely consider for any leadership role here at all. And I mean, my assumption, I'm kind of curious, like how do DAOs deal with this? My assumption is that you just kind of vote that person out and you just put it into a snapshot and it works out that way.
Yep. And then you're protected with vesting clauses and whatnot. So absolutely an important issue to handle, but one that we have some kind of guidance on through other processes.
They will be part of the tokenomic snapshot vote as well. So
Yes. Yeah. No allocation is like being assigned to them without an actual snapshot vote.
yeah, I think what Nader was getting at is some flexibility to make these connections and move the DAO forward is really, really important. But ultimately, wherever we get to on this in the next few days, like, it's going to be shared and discussed amongst the community and be voted on. So nothing will go through without like majority community support. It's just allowed sort of forward progress to be made and bring on these kind of advisors, which we expect to be pretty beneficial for us as a community to be able to go much further and get there much faster than we maybe otherwise would have been able to.
And I think an important aspect to think about is like, especially since we're so early, a lot of these are like focused around like short-term decisions. I think in the long term, you'll see as like seasons go on, and like, for example, if we're having different guild leaders get appointed from season to season, you'll see kind of changes like that, where maybe guild leaders are making a lot of decisions and perhaps people disagreed with those decisions that they made. And it'll be at that point where you can kind of propose that, okay, maybe this person isn't really aligned with the DAO values that we have. I'm not saying that Nader is like, doing anything that's wrong here, but just for argument's sake, like if there's someone that is bad acting and is in a position of authority, maybe there's not something that can be done like immediately, and like every single question that they have or like every single decision they make ends up being questioned or put up to a snapshot vote. But that's, you'll kind of see like over time, guild leaders will be really beholden to the rest of the community, because that's where they get their position from, is through these snapshot delegations where we're choosing like season one, this person is in charge of this, and we're kind of trusting that person to make these autonomous decisions in a way that's going to be mutually beneficial for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. As our governance process and tooling matures, like all of that will become like a clear pathways to be able to do those things. But decentralizing everything right away is like, would be extremely challenging and probably slow us down quite a lot.
Sorry, yeah. No, I brought up McMac.eth. Haven't seen your ENS yet for the next question.
Hi, all right. So can everyone hear me good?
Mm-hmm.
We got you.
Oh, awesome. So this is more of an announcement or just letting people know what's going on. So there is a DAO called Pizza DAO, and one of their members had reached out to me about a potential collaboration or the beginnings of a collaboration. So let me give you guys the rundown of what they are. So they launched a 10,000 NFT profile picture collection kind of thing, and they're raising all this money to basically donate it to feed or to donate to pizzerias around the world. So last year on the Bitcoin Pizza Day, they gave out about $400,000 worth of pizza, different continents all over the world, pizzerias, all, just about everywhere. And their entire goal is to decentralize the pizza software industry, right? Because there's these big companies and they make the software that small pizzerias have to use. So he reached out and wanted to know if any members from the developer DAO would be interested. I will drop a link to their Discord in the voice text. And, they wanted to basically start small. So if any members from the developer DAO want to go over there and do any pull requests or mess around with their smart contracts or anything, we can basically just let them know you're a member from here, and you can get one of their pizza NFTs if that's your thing.
Do we get
Awesome.
Do we get pizza as well as NFTs?
I think if you want to.
Cool.
Cool stuff. Thanks for sharing.
Will, did you bring up Stephanie?
I did.
Stephanie, welcome.
What's up? What's up?
Hi, Stephanie.
Hey, how y'all doing? Quick. So Nader was talking earlier, and it's an issue that we've kind of seen in the community guild too. And then also seeing all the stuff that's happening in Dev Guild. So it feels like we need something to be able to cross. I understand that the newsletter goes in and finds from the different guilds, but as far as the work, so it's really good now that we have silos, so things are able to move faster. But then as they're moving faster, then duplicate work is happening, or work is starting in one place and it's already been built in another guild or started in another guild. So getting that cross information is especially important as far as community guilds seeing to be able to help the community, but not having an insight into the full community to be able to make that support. For example, with the talking about the hackathon, that's something that we've discussed and been trying to make a move on. It's like, oh, we're here. It's like I found that at the town hall, right? So, like what? If anybody has any thoughts about that, I have thoughts about it. But bringing it up here as an issue as well as as an issue, and then also not just bringing problems, also having a few solutions.
Yeah, I think it's a really important point, Stephanie. I think it happened with like you mentioned, the hackathons, and I know the Dev Guild have been looking at events as well. What I'm hoping is, once we get the Notion up and get the wiki up, and all projects and initiatives are stored in the same place, then that can be kind of like step one to making that much better. In terms of, we can go and check, or anyone can go and check that project list to see what's happening at the moment. And if we come up with an idea and we dip in and look and see that the Dev Guild's already working on that idea, then we can go and partner with the Dev Guild to make that happen. I've also had some thoughts about how we can encourage sort of that better and earlier cross-guild collaboration. I think Mark's RFC process was great. It's really, really effective, and I think adopting something like that community-wide would be really good. So something like, in terms of, if there's an idea that starts getting fleshed out in a guild, maybe taking that to a specified public channel that's like a brainstorming channel or new idea pitching channel, and whoever's sort of pushing that idea forward, sort of opening a thread in that channel, and then going to the guild's open channel and putting a request for interest for people to contribute. And I think if we start moving towards that kind of way of working, like, that could be quite interesting. But that's just an idea, and I'm totally up for, if anyone knows of better ways of doing this or has seen things work in other DAOs. But it's a problem that you're definitely right to raise, and that we need to think about. Hopefully Notion gets us step one, and then we can figure out process around it. Did you have any thoughts yourself on how you might see it being solved?
Of course. So, but mine is a little bit more elbow grease, hustle, and just at the beginning, right? It's just kind of what I do, which is to go into the different ones and then find it and then see and then follow the chat and scroll. And then that's how I find that, okay, this has already been working on, that's already been worked on, this is where they're at on that. So that's how I'm doing it. I can scale it more. But I don't know, it still is within Community Guild as far as the scope of the objectives of the guild for season 0 as well. So I always want to make sure it's like for that, but at the same time, I don't really look at it as much. Just kind of think about what are the problems and then how do we solve them. And it's really trying to get to execution faster, and it's slowing up the execution. So I think that just having a cross, almost like what was mentioned before, like a product manager, project manager, whatever, product owner, all these different titles. But just going across the guilds and looking, newsletter guild, like the biz dev situation, when you're talking about sponsors, when it comes to the hackathon, and like these things are all together. So that's what I was thinking, which was just kind of like, yes, community guild exists in itself. However, community guild is also across the entire community. So just having a lane to look across in a view across all of them. So I don't know, maybe I have to add I started to add more, but just add every guild and try to follow. It's a real elbow grease version, but it's like it could be better.
I remember
you understand what I'm saying?
Totally. I remember you saying the other day, like I think you probably invested about an hour trying to catch up, and then I can't remember what you said, but you were like, "Oh my god." I think I'm hopeful that.
Oh, I invested more than an hour. It's what I do. It's like I do it on a regular basis,
Yeah, we need to get that information like out of Discord and into somewhere, and I'm hopeful that Notion with the project tracking, like if anything's being worked on in the DAO, if we as a community make sure that anything that's beyond like just a flirting idea that's actually got any sort of effort behind it is going into Notion and in that project board, then hopefully we can review that as the kind of jump off point for knowing what we need to work on, and if we've got an idea, if someone's already working on it, where we need to go. But there'll be a lot more to figure out around that in terms of how we make the process work best for us. But hopeful that should, to a degree, alleviate the need to scroll through like millions of Discord chats to try and catch up with what's going on. And also,
more like it.
Yeah, and also Mark's RFC process. How I kind of see it is like Discord is for initial ideas and a bit of brainstorming. And then you want to document that, create a project card, write the details of the project on the project card, and then work towards putting up a proposal on Discourse. And then hopefully that flow will mean that good ideas make it to that stage because it requires some effort to kind of go through that process. But then also because it's documented, anyone who wasn't necessarily involved in at the sort of genesis of the idea can kind of see that idea evolve in the project card and then to an RFC or a proposal on Discourse. And hopefully that should make visibility of everything much easier to digest.
Okay, cool. And then the next thing, since we're doing announcements too, just to put out the diversity that we're working on in Community Guild, kind of making it's a thing that I've saw from other DAOs, and so trying to make it a common term, keeping the same term, and making sure that everyone is thinking about that when it comes to diversity, inclusion, equity, or DEI. You understand what I'm saying? Making sure everybody is together up in this thing. So that's a project that we're working on in Community Guild, and I like to highlight that. And it's because not just a Community Guild thing; it's something that each and every person is involved in.
Yeah, love it. Hopefully
more details to be TBD.
TBD. There is we opened up a thread, right? Maybe we make a channel for it so it's got a proper home.
Yeah. I have to put the things in there and the questions and all that kind of stuff.
Love it.
But yeah, TBD.
Awesome. All right, thanks, Stephanie. We've got one more person up here for questions. I think it's Piablo. Are you still with us? Oh. Eagle. Oh.
What?
I think that's some... Piablo, I think you've got a challenge with your audio. Alright. I've muted you for now. We'll go to Eagle, and then I'll unmute you again after Eagle's spoken, and hopefully it will be fixed.
Yeah, hey, hey guys, am I audible?
Hey man, welcome.
Yeah, Hi. So this is my first town hall, so it is very interesting, the way how the whole DAO thing works. And this is like my first DAO town hall as well, so it's very very exciting and interesting. Uh, so my question is regarding the tokenomics. So can any of you guys give like the broader like how we are thinking about like will it going to be a fixed supply token, or is it inflationary token, or just like the basics of what's the thought process that's going on regarding the token?
Yeah, I think we can shed some light on it. So,
Yeah.
it's like just high level. It's will be 50% for now and 50% for the future. So 50% will be involved in the airdrop, and then 50% will go to the community treasury that will be vested over a number of years. And the reason behind that is multiple reasons. Is to make sure that we've got some security for ourselves. So if as a community we did get something horribly wrong, not all of the tokens are at risk. Like that's level one. But also it gives a signal out to the world that we're kind of serious about this over the long term. It's not just like a value grab in terms of issuing the token. And it means that we can sort of helps us be more strategic and long-term thinking in terms of how we might allocate that token. And then in terms of how the airdrop's kind of looking like at the moment in terms, again, what just we're going to suggest. I think we're looking at 50%. No, not 50%. Remind me, Nader, sorry. I think it's 30% community airdrop.
Yeah, it looks like, I mean, of course, we can just share some of those details here since we're going to probably propose something that can, be reviewed, and it might change slightly between now and then. But it's going to look something like 50% to the Treasury, 30% to the community. That 30% is split 25% to the people in the snapshot, an additional 5% to the people who helped build out the things that kind of got us here. So people like that participated in building out the website, the pixel avatars, help setting up whatever things within here to kind of get us there. We'll be given some type of like multiplier. We haven't figured out exactly how that will look, but we're thinking that we might set up some type of form where people can kind of like fill in their information and what their participation is and things like that. And then we can kind of try to allocate fairly. Of course, it's not going to be perfect. I don't think there is a perfect way to kind of do this. There are tools that kind of try to give you, programmatic information around people's involvement and things like that. So we're just going to have to kind of do the best that we can to kind of figure that out. So yeah, that's 30%. So that makes 80%. That leaves, I guess, another 20%. I think 5% of that, or maybe it was like 20. I'm starting to get messed up with these numbers. But anyway, we're going to be having 5% for we're proposing for Gitcoin, so that could change, of course. And then we're going to have something like 5% for other things like advisors and stuff like that. And then I think we have like 15% for the founding team and the current core team. So that core team will probably change over time, and it vests over like X number of years. So, it will basically say, okay, like you would get this amount for the first year and then this amount for the second year. And if like a core team member cycled in and out, then they would still be able to kind of be allocated some form of those governance tokens or something like that. So that's kind of the general idea. And it might, I'm trying to think if those exact numbers are right. It might be something more like 20% for the community and then another 5% for the additional for the community. So it's either 25 or 30% for the community. I don't remember at this point, but it'll be proposed in the document that can go out for review.
Okay, got it. And one more question is, like, once the token is launched, if new members wants to join, so like how is the limit? How many tokens do they have to hold, or is it based on something like that, right?
Yeah, we haven't. That's probably going to be a part of the tokenomics as well. It'll essentially be like X number of tokens. So like if you have been eligible for the airdrop, you might get like 500 tokens. and then we'll set a threshold, based on that number, so that anyone that had supported and been a part of the community with the original NFT will continue to be a member. And then to enable new memberships, we're going to be doing sponsorships. So, or at least this is the intention. So, like, we kind of prioritize certain groups of people. So, one of those groups is going to be people that had originally tried to purchase an NFT for maybe their friend, but they missed the snapshot. We'll take input from those people. We'll prioritize underrepresented groups, people from underrepresented groups. We'll also prioritize people that have kind of shown a track record of like being a builder or a creator of some way. And then we'll also probably have a prioritization for junior developers that are kind of just getting started, that need to kind of like maybe have that first break, but maybe they show some really great, I would say, initiative, or they look like they might be someone that will be able to kind of use a community like this to kind of really further their career. So those and like essentially we'll just gifting tokens to those people, So that's kind of one way, and then the last way will be we'll either allow anyone with the X number of tokens to join, or we might have like some type of whitelist. I don't know what we're going to propose there, but it'll either be like anyone that holds that number of tokens can get in, just like we have now. Like anyone that held that NFT can enter the community. We didn't really have any type of gatekeeping mechanism, but a lot of people recommend maybe like curation as you grow to kind of make sure you bring in people that are going to be valuable contributors. But I think there's a good discussion there to be had. I'm kind of leaning more towards the idea of letting pretty much anyone in, and not really setting any type of entry process. I think Cooper is recommending we do more of like a curated approach, kind of like how Friends with Benefits does. So I don't think that decision has been made quite yet.
Got it. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Eagle. Welcome to your first town hall. It's nice to see you here. Thanks for the question. Pablo has.
Kemster, so I'm done with my questions, I guess.
Yeah, I was talking to you, but I was on mute. I was saying, nice to have you up here, particularly on your first town hall. Thanks for the questions, dude. So Pablo is back in the waiting space. So let's see if we can bring him up. Well, them up, sorry. Oh, sorry. Oh, I've still got you on mute. One sec.
You'll need to unmute him, Kemp.
Yeah, Pablo, I've unmuted you now, so you should be able to unmute. They've gone. Oh.
Oh, no.
Pablo, we're having the same challenges with your sound, unfortunately. Do you want to post your question into the chat, and then we can try and pick it up and answer it for you? Okay, cool. Pablo, if you're still here, jot down the question. Otherwise, maybe it's time. Here we go. A bit complicated for a couple of messages. Yeah, let me try and unmute you one more time, but unfortunately, we're not getting any legible audio through, my friend. No worries. Okay, yeah, sorry about that. Like, please do share the question, and I'm quite happy to try and answer it async for you. If it's related to one of the proposals, like, by all means, if it's a bit wordy to get out in a Discord chat, if you whack it up there, we can answer it for you there as well. But I think that's been a really productive session. We're obviously an hour and 45 minutes, so just want to say a massive thank you to everyone that's attended and everyone that's asked questions, and yeah, I think it's great what's happening in the community at the moment, and yeah, just super grateful for everyone attending, particularly on a holiday for our American friends as well. Any parting thoughts from anyone?
No, that's it for me. I'm just excited by the number of people that are showing up to these. It's kind of wild.
Yeah,
I think that our number one priority right now is just keeping everything in order, keeping the momentum going, enabling future access, and just trying to answer all the questions that people have and keep all the stuff organized. I know that's a lot of number one priorities, but there's a lot of stuff to think about here, and we're doing stuff that's never really been done before. Like every DAO is, not just us. So we're just trying to figure it out as we go, and appreciate everyone's involvement and everyone's thoughts and everyone's questions and feedback so far. Keep it coming.
Yeah, totally. Thanks, y'all. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone in North America and anywhere else that's celebrated. And we will see you all again soon.
Bye,
We're all still going to make it.
Halfway there, Mark.
We're gonna make it.
Woo-hoo.
See you.